Sometimes we think financial security comes from doing something completely new, a new skill, a new degree, a total reinvention. But what if the answer is already with you? What if what you know, what you have lived, and what you naturally do could become the foundation for real financial stability? Welcome back to Healthy Mind, Healthy Life, where we explore the connection between mental clarity, emotional strength, and the lives we want to build. I am Yusuf, and today's guest is Bart Merrell, international entrepreneur, author, and creator of Monetize Your Mindset. Bart has built multiple ventures by spotting opportunities others overlook, and his work focuses on helping people create financial security using what they already know. In this episode, we are talking about monetizing mindset, building resilience through income clarity, and how financial confidence supports mental well being. With that, I welcome my guest, Bart Merrill, to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Perfect. But before we get into strategy and side hustles, I am curious. When did you personally realize that mindset plays a bigger role in financial security than talent or resource alone?
So I didn't get into this because it was my life goal. It wasn't where I was going. I wanted to be an FBI agent and go chase serial killers. That was my goal job, my dream job. And long story short, I had surgery on my eyes to correct my vision when I was going to college. And after I got it done, I was almost finished up with college. I started the application process into the FBI, and I found out that that automatically disqualified me. The surgery on my eyes automatically disqualified me from the FBI. And I was devastated because that is all I wanted to do. That was my life goal.
Mm.
And so after that, I kind of fell back on what my dad had taught me as a kid, not by, he didn't sit me down and teach me the birds and the bees of business. He showed me by example. He was a pig farmer, but he had his hands in many different ventures in the agricultural industry because that's what he loved to do. That's what he enjoyed. And so whenever I was up at school, my dream job was blown up. And a friend of mine who worked for a bungee jump company jokingly asked me if I would like to go back to Japan because I had spent time in Japan. And I seriously thought about it for a couple of seconds and said yes. And 3 months later, I was in Japan, pushing Japanese people off the top of a bungee tower. And I wasn't pushing, I was assisting Japanese people off the top of a bungee tower. And so I contracted with the Japanese company. I was the go-between between the US and the Japan company. And they liked me. And so I worked with them on many different ventures. The next year we did 5 more bungee towers. By the time we finished in Japan, I think we had 12. And then we did a thing called the Sky Coaster, which is a big swing thing that is in all the amusement parks in the USA. And so we did many ventures that way. And so having my dream job blow up forced me to kind of fall back on what I knew. It wasn't what I studied in school. I studied accounting in school, but when I started studying accounting, it was just a means to get in the FBI. I found out very quickly that I wasn't good at it and I didn't like it. And so when you graduate with a degree you don't like and you're not very good at and your purpose blows up, you have to pivot. You have to do what you want to do. And so I've never had a real job. I've always made my income by doing things that I already know and do, or anything that crosses my path. So monetize your mindset is about whatever crosses your path, you ask, can you monetize it? You don't monetize everything, but you ask the question. And we'll get into more about that later. But that's how it started. My dream job got blown up, and so I had to do something.
Yeah. Wow. A lot of people believe that monetization is only for expert influencers or people with huge platforms. What do you see as the biggest misconception people have about turning knowledge into income?
They don't think about it. So like I said, I I naturally, anything that crosses my path, good, bad, or ugly, I asked, can I monetize it? A quick example. This is the one of the latest things that I monetized was in 2024, March 25th, I had to have my lower left leg amputated. And so I had to get my leg cut off. I found out about that it was going to happen about 6 months before that in 2023. After the doctor told me that this is what has to happen and the shock and awe was over, my first thought was, dang, this is going to hurt. I don't like this. But my second, after all calmed down, I said, okay, I don't like it. It's going to happen. There's nothing I can do about it. How can I monetize it? 6 months after my surgery, I contracted with my prosthetist to help other people go through what it is that I went through. I didn't know anything about being a prosthetist, but I knew about getting my leg cut off. I knew how to talk to people. I knew how to help people. But here's the thing. If I hadn't thought about it before, when the opportunity came, I wouldn't have jumped at that opportunity. And it went kind of like this. I'm in my prosthetist's office. We're working on my leg and doing things for my prosthetic leg. And I said, "Hey, Scott, I interviewed 3 other prosthetists before I decided on you.
Mm.
One of them had a guy that I could talk to that had been through getting their leg cut off, and he could answer questions for me and help me and just calm my fears. Scott, you don't have a guy. I'm your guy." And that's literally how it started. Then we came to we negotiated, came to a price, and I told him, I said, Scott, I don't want a job. I don't want to come in the office. I don't want to have, I don't want to have the responsibilities of coming in the office. You give me the names of who I need to contact. I will talk to them. And I'm basically on retainer for Scott. And so I monetized getting my leg cut off because I thought about it. And so that's the big thing. You need to think about the things that you already know and do, because those are the low-hanging fruit that you can take.
Yeah.
And so the misconception is that they think that they don't know something that can be monetized, but they haven't thought it through. They're
You
they're
know,
too close to the situation.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but you
No,
know, that reframes the entire narrative from it shifts from, am I qualified enough to who could benefit from what I already know?
yeah.
That is completely a game changer.
And so I have a friend, he's a psychologist. He calls himself the positivity psychologist. And he says that to a to a first grader, a third grader is an expert. to a third grader, a sixth grader is an expert, to a sixth grader, a 12th grader, and so on. And so there's always someone that can use and benefit from what you know. And when it comes to life experiences, you have gone through it. You have overcome something that you can help other people overcome the same thing.
Mm,
And you can get compensated for it, which is the good thing.
yes. Why do you think so many capable people struggle to see the value in their own experience?
So it's probably less about seeing the value in their experience. It's more about the fear of taking that first step. And sometimes once you get that first momentum and get the first step taken and you see and you feel a little bit of success, then the next step's easier and the next step's easier and the next step's easier. And so what I do with people, I talk to them and I help them see the things that they overlook. And once that starts, once I get their brain thinking, new ideas start to pop up. I was working with a bus driver, a school bus driver here in the US, and she wanted to start a limousine service where she would buy a limousine bus and she would take people to and from events. And I said, okay, I know you already have decided what it is you want to do, but I still want you to go through my process and make the list. And so I told her, I says, okay, the next time we meet, we'll talk more about your list. She called me 2 days later and she says, I'm so mad at you. I'm like, why? What did I do? I woke up the other morning at 3 o'clock in the morning and I couldn't go back to sleep. And I says, well, why? What happened? Did I do something wrong? What were you thinking about? And she figured out that if she had her own bus or own vehicle for whatever business she was doing on her own, she could take a test, cost her about $400, take a test, and she could be a driver. She could do the driver's test for other people who want their commercial driver's licenses. And she wouldn't even have to market for it because when someone goes into the driver's license division, they take their written test. The driver's license division hands them a sheet that has a list of all the people who are qualified to do the driving test. So they automatically market for her, and she gets paid $200 to $250 a pop each time she gives a driving test for something that she already knew. But for some reason, she's been driving bus for probably 10 years, maybe even 15 years. And she could have done that years ago. She just didn't think about it. And I didn't think about it for her. All I did was get the wheels in motion. She started thinking about things, and then she was able to see something else that she could do. And it got her excited because it's something she already knew how to do. And that's what I try and focus on is the things in your life, your own life experiences that you could turn into a stream of income. And all you have to do is start thinking. Here's what I tell people to do. Make a list of what do you like to do? What do you need to do? What are you already doing? And then start asking the question on each one of those, how could I monetize this? And then once you find something that sticks out, now you have to decide if you want it because you're going to have to give up something to do whatever it is you're going to try and monetize. I joke that everybody says, "Ooh, I wish I was like Bezos or I wish I was like Elon Musk or whatever billionaire you want to pick out." But are you willing to go through to do what they did to get where they are? Elon Musk never goes home. He sleeps at the office. Is that the life you want? And so as you find these things, it's going to require resources, time, money, effort. Do you want that? Is the value that it's going to give you worth what you're going to have to give up? And you have to make that decision.
Oh. For someone who is listening right now, who feels overwhelmed, what's a very simple step they can start to, you know, monetizing what they already know?
So it's like I said, those 3 steps of asking the questions. What do you like to do? What do you need to? What are you already doing? Write them down. Don't just think about it in your head. Make a physical list. And then this list is going to continue to grow. And then once you do that, you're going to make 2 more lists. You're going to funnel those 3 lists into you got to do the research. What could you turn into a stream of income the fastest? And what do you like to do the most? And something's going to pop up. So as you're refining the list, you're going to have the gold nuggets start to pop up. And that's when you got to decide, okay, this is an idea that I could probably monetize. Do I want to give up the resources to get it? And so all I have to do is start thinking, start making lists. Like I say, it's something that I do normally. It happens all the time. When something crosses my path, I always ask, can I monetize it? I don't monetize everything. When I went to Japan, there's a restaurant that I love. It's called Koko Ichiban Curry. It's a Japanese curry restaurant. And I thought, okay, I want to take this to America because it's the first place I go when I land, and it's the last place I go before I leave. And then many times in between while I'm there. And I know it would succeed here in the US. But when it got down to it, and I had the money, I had a friend in Japan that would finance it for me to get started, and we would be partners. And he said, if you succeed, we split the profits. If you don't worry about the money. And so it was kind of free money. It was already set up. I got back to the US, I started doing my research and started figuring out what resources I was going to need. And I decided I don't want to work that hard. And so I said no. I didn't accept the money. I love to eat the stuff, but I didn't want to make it every day, and I didn't want to try and I didn't want to do the front work to where I could get high enough to delegate stuff out. And so I decided I didn't want to do it. And so you don't need to monetize everything. You just need to ask the question, can I monetize it? And then decide if you want to.
Okay. But where can listeners learn more about your work and monetize your mindset?
So I'm on Facebook. So look me up on Facebook. Just Bart Merrell, Merrell. And then I have a free gift that I give out to anybody that wants it. It is the 1K blind spot assessment. And you can find that. It's a 10-minute assessment. You answer the questions and it tells you the things you should probably focus on because you're good at them. And then the thing that you should focus on because it's a blind spot that you don't see. And you can get that at youridealsidehustle.com.
And perfect. All these links are in the show notes. So listeners, just go and check those out. But is there any last message that you want to leave us with?
So I told you that I learned a lot from my dad. And even in dad's passing, in dad's death, he taught me a lesson. And so have you heard the story Acres of Diamonds?
No.
So Acres of Diamonds is a story, it's been around for a long time. It's about a Persian farmer who sold his farm and he went in search of diamonds. He died broke, alone in a foreign land. He never found them. The farmer that he sold his farm to was watering his camel in a brook that ran through the property, looked down, and there was a strange rock. Picked it up, it was a diamond. He literally found acres of diamonds in what was Ali Hafed's backyard. My family, we have a similar story. I grew up in a small town in southern New Mexico, and our story is called Acres of Pig Poop. And so in my small town, there were more pigs than people because of us. We were pig farmers. At any one time on our farm, we had somewhere between 18, 19,000 pigs. And we had 2,000 sows. And do you know what a sow is? It's a mama pig. And a mama pig can give birth 2.5 times a year. And on our farm, we average 9.97 pigs per litter. And so for the mathematicians out there, that equals a lot of pig poop. We had these 3 man-made ponds that we would divert the stuff into. And, one year it would go here, next year it'd go here, here. And they were settling ponds. Well, Dad, in his mid-60s, decided it was time to shut down the pig operation and go in search of his next big thing, his next acres of diamonds. He died at age 81. He never found them. We sold the farm 2 years later, and about 6 months after we sold the farm, the new owners were leveling those man-made ponds that we had created. And they had been dry on top for years. You could walk on top. But the heavy grader, the heavy equipment goes across the middle of this thing and breaks through the crust and sinks up to its belly in this black liquid muck. They called in experts to analyze the stuff. And right there on the spot, they offered the new owners of our farm $2,000 a ton for this stuff. That's $1 a pound for old pig poop. The farm that we sold for $235,000 was now worth over $1 million because you could turn that into fertilizer. Good fertilizer. So Dad, he missed his acres of diamonds that were right under his nose. And so the question or the message I want to leave to your listeners is, what about you? How about your acres of diamonds? Are you right there on the verge of discovery? Or are you overlooking them like my dad and Ali Hafed? Because they could be right in your backyard, right within your grasp, or right there under your nose. And as my dad showed you, they could even look like a pile of pig poop. So open your eyes and be aware of the opportunities that are all around you.
Wow. To all our listeners, if today's conversation resonated with you, take a moment to reflect on what you already know and how it might serve someone else. When mindset and purpose align, financial security becomes part of a healthier life. And financial security does not begin with money, it begins with recognizing the value of what you already carry. I thank you, all of you, and my guest Bart Merrill for spending this time with us on Healthy Mind, Healthy Life. And I'll see you in the next episode.